In the contemporary world, peaceful family life is no longer morally innocent. It exists within a global system that continuously produces suffering, exploitation, and death, and this reality is no longer hidden. Through modern media and news, individuals are made fully aware of wars, political repression, economic exploitation, environmental destruction, and humanitarian disasters. Much of this suffering is not natural or unavoidable, but is directly tied to global political and economic arrangements, including the ongoing exploitation of poorer nations by wealthy Western states long after the end of formal colonial rule. Despite this awareness, people continue to pursue and protect private comfort, domestic happiness, and emotional security. The contradiction is stark. One eats dinner with family while watching images of famine. One plans vacations while consuming goods produced through exploitative labor. One speaks of values while benefiting from systems that violate them daily. At this point, the issue is no longer ignorance, it is denial. Modern media has removed the excuse of not knowing. The problem now is not lack of information, but lack of moral consequence. Individuals are confronted with suffering, but are structurally encouraged to treat it as background noise. News is consumed. Emotions are briefly stirred, and life continues unchanged. Sympathy becomes performative, outrage becomes momentary, and ethics are reduced to gestures that do not threaten comfort. To maintain peaceful family life under these conditions, people rely heavily on psychological defense mechanisms. They compartmentalize, separating private happiness from public suffering as if the two are unrelated. They normalize injustice by framing it as inevitable or too complex to address. They retreat into narratives of powerlessness, claiming individual action is meaningless, while still enjoying the benefits of collective exploitation. This is not mere coping, it is moral evasion. The role of media intensifies this hypocrisy. While media relentlessly displays tragedy, it rarely demands accountability from ordinary consumers of the system. Suffering is presented as spectacle rather than as consequence. Viewers are trained to watch pain without responsibility, to feel without acting, and eventually to feel nothing at all. Over time, repeated exposure does not produce moral awakening but emotional numbness. In earlier village-based or localized societies, moral life was narrower but more coherent. People were responsible for what they could see and influence. Today, global awareness has expanded moral responsibility beyond what individuals are willing or structurally allowed to confront. Instead of reorganizing life to match this awareness, people shrink their moral concern to fit their comfort. This shrinking is what turns peace into hypocrisy. Thus, modern family peace is often sustained not by innocence or virtue, but by selective blindness. Happiness becomes dependent on ignoring the conditions that make it possible. The home becomes a moral refuge, insulated from the world it materially depends upon. In this sense, peaceful family life under modern global capitalism is not morally neutral. It is built atop denial, rationalization, and the quiet acceptance of distant suffering. The tragedy is not simply that suffering exists, but that it has become compatible with normal life. When injustice no longer disrupts dinner, sleep, or celebration, hypocrisy has ceased to be a personal failing and has become a social norm.